Anti-government demonstrations in Morocco turned violent on the fifth night as the protesters holding those demonstrations over the state of public services, and they resulted in widespread destruction. 2 people were killed when officers opened fire on a group of people attempting to storm a police station there as the violent protests roiled the North African country. According to a government-run news agency, police near the coastal city of Agadir were compelled to use their service weapons in self-defense to fend off an assault on their station. Images have emerged showing a bank branch in flames and several vehicles, including one belonging to the law enforcement, reduced to charred remains in the sale. In fact, this was in a neighborhood located north of Rabat in Morocco. The destruction marking a dramatic escalation as the country enters its 5th consecutive day of protests. Hundreds of masked teenagers were witnessed torching cars, banks and shops while smashing windows. Similar unrest reported in the south and east regions as well, where a police vehicle rammed into the demonstrators, leaving 1 person injured. The protests are spreading to new areas, underscoring growing anger over what the participants call rampant corruption and neglect of schools and hospitals. In fact, the Interior Ministry has said 409 people were arrested since the protest started on Saturday, with 263 security forces injured, along with 23 civilians. The authorities have said 142 police vehicles and 20 private cars were damaged. The so-called Gen Z protests, driven largely by internet-savvy youths, emerging as the country's largest in years. Protesters have been demanding urgent reforms in the country's public health and education sectors, which have long been points of contention. The protesters highlighted the stark contrast between the government's billions spent on World Cup preparations and the dire condition of public services. Morocco is preparing to host the Africa Cup of Nations this year and the 2030 World Cup, while the parliamentary elections loom in 2026. Officials have denied prioritizing stadiums over services, but the protests have put the spotlight on some disparities and the so-called disillusionment among the youth. And this protest also following similar youth-led large-scale demonstrations in Nepal, Indonesia, the Philippines and Madagascar. Amnesty International urged the Moroccan authorities to address the protesters' legitimate demands for social and economic rights.